Hey everyone, this is Isaac. I'm CEO at Trullion, and today on AI Accounting Intelligence, we'll be talking with real people about real things related to AI and the impact on the accounting industry. Stay tuned. Good to see everyone. Good to be talking to everyone. Welcome to Accounting Intelligence, another great episode. I'm really excited about this one today because we've got Edwine in the house. Edwine, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Isaac. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, awesome. Edwine, as I always say, my hope with these podcasts is people walk away with even just one thing, like one piece of wisdom from hearing your story and your personality. I have a feeling today they're going to walk away with at least three and hopefully more. You and I, we met in Boston. I remember at one of these AI controller dinners. You've worked for some of the hottest companies in the world, Circle, which is the hot IPO, and Ramp, which could be a future IPO, and much more. But it's just great to have you. And I thought maybe a good place to start for everyone would just be to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the arc of your career. And by the way, feel free to go back to your childhood if there's any fun stories.
Yeah, so thank you. So Isaac, I just want to congratulate you first on making the Disrupt Party list.
Thank you.
So congratulations on that. And thank you again for having me. So I've done a couple of podcasts in the past couple months, so people should be quite familiar with me, or if they're not, they probably read the balance sheet, which is my newsletter on LinkedIn. But for people that don't know me, I'm Edwine Alphonse. I've had a career in accounting for the past 20 years, so I'm a regular corporate accountant with a background in auditing, like Big Four firms. So I've worked at Ernst & Young, and I've also worked at PwC. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping startups with building their financial and accounting processes and teams. So I grew up in Haiti, I was born in Haiti in the Caribbean. And when I grew up, I wanted to be a novelist. I wanted to be a writer. Well, somehow.
What kind of books? I have to ask. What kind of books did you want to write?
Romance novel. So I was the one. I like Daniel Steele. So I read so many Daniel Steele. I was a really romance reader. I read so many of them, and I enjoyed it. So I never envisioned myself as an accountant. In fact, when I started in university, so I left Haiti right after high school to go to university in the US, and I was an MIS student. That's when the internet was hot. Everybody was talking about it. I'm aging myself now. I'm old.
You and I both.
so people were excited about information systems. So I started wanting to have an information system degree. And somehow, when I moved from the US to Canada, because in my first year, my parents moved to Canada and I had to join them, I didn't transition well. I was really bad at coding, like Java, C++. That wasn't for me. So turned out I got a job in the accounting department at the university because I was doing the work study program. And I fell in love with accounting at that time. And after my first couple months working with the accounting department at the university, I decided to switch my degree to accounting. And I never looked back. It was the best decision for me because right after college, I got a job at Ernst & Young in Ottawa. And that was great because I was able to work with different type of clients, different industries, different teams. Started in Canada, worked in Ottawa, in Toronto. And then at some point, I was like, oh my God, it's too cold in Canada. So I moved to Grand Cayman and did my share of hedge funds audits, asset management audits, which was great. And while I was in Cayman, I met my husband there, and he's from Boston. And he was like, well, you want to get married? You need to move to Boston. So I moved to Boston with PwC and stayed with PwC for about 3 years. So that's a total of 10 years in Big Four. And I really, really liked audit. But when I got my first daughter, it was extremely challenging to travel as an auditor. And I was like, you know what? I need just like one flight. And I wanted something fun. Like I wanted to work for a company that's fun, that's exciting. And that's how I found Circle. And that was in 2014.
Wow.
That
And
was a
just
time ago.
wait, sorry to interrupt. So Circle now, fast forward, we're recording this in the summer of 2025, just IPO'd, correct?
Yes, Circle just IPO'd, I think 2 weeks ago,
Wow.
which is
So
good.
that has been one of the most successful IPOs in recent memory, which is really exciting. So now let's rewind back to where you were, and it sounds like maybe the earlier days of Circle
Exactly.
building and accounting. Yeah.
So I joined Circle in 2014 and Circle started in 2013. So when I joined them, they were extremely early. I was employee number 40. I was the first accountant.
Wow.
I was out as an accounting manager, but there was nobody else on the accounting side. I was reporting to the VP of finance, and she was an amazing lady, like Anne-Mary Strong. And she worked part-time. She was like, you know what, like we're going to take a chance because you had that accounting audit background. And at that time, like funny enough, whenever I get a job, it's because people need to get an audit done. So my first task was to get Circle financial statement audited and clean their books, which I did. So I ended up staying there for 5 years, built a team, built the processes, created like international
Wow.
interfaces, like, and it was exciting, like extremely exciting, but also extremely challenging, especially because at that time nobody knew how to do accounting for crypto or how to do compliance for crypto.
And
Like,
it's a wallet. It's a
yeah,
stable coin wallet.
well, Circle started as a competitor to Coinbase. They
Uh,
started by like selling and trading different type of cryptos and allowing people to have these different cryptos in their wallets or invest in them. So we were doing accounting for like how to have these cryptos on the books, like as inventories, and also doing accounting for crypto trading. And I remember the stories of the auditors, just like, how do you audit cryptos? Because we can't see them. So I had to learn like how to do hot wallet, cold wallet, like all the cryptography, how to sign the transactions and everything. So it was exciting time. And toward the end, like in 2018, I think like Circle moved to USDC, like their stable coins, which they currently have now. And I was the one also to help establish the accounting and auditing standards for stable coins, like working with the auditors and figuring it out. So that was really exciting. So after Circle, so I left Circle in 2019. I took a little break. I call that like job patient, job patient, and work for like some smaller companies. Uh, One of them was in AI manufacturing, which was great. The second one was in data marketing, data analytics for influencer marketing. Again, that was exciting because I could spend my whole day, well, a couple hours on Instagram, but that was like doing work. And it was fun, like, and I enjoyed it because I was able to work with different industries, like learn SaaS. At Circle, they were mostly focused on transaction revenue and trading revenue and crypto accounting. So, working at Tracker, for example, gave me that SaaS accounting 606 revenue experience. So while I was at Tracker, I was just looking for a solution for my team because we had different subsidiaries at Tracker and people used to travel a lot. And I was like, what can help with expense reporting? And I found Ramp. And funny enough, they had a position called accountant. Well, you know what? The best way to get a good demo is to, I don't know, apply for a job. So apply for the job, went to the process, met with Alex, he was the VP of finance at that time, Eric, Jeff. And after Jeff gave me the demo of Ramp, I was like, you know what? I want to work for this company. So I joined Ramp in 2021. again, I was their first accountant, first controller, and build the team. So when I joined, I had a team of 70 people, 70, and I just left right like at the end of May. And when I left, they had a head count of 1,200 employees. They went from when I started into like having nominal revenue to now getting close to 1 billion in revenue for 2025. So I can say it's a really good story. Uh, I had a really good career in accounting so far. I love accounting. Like I think like an accountant. I live life as an accountant. Like my husband will tell me like stop auditing me all the time. So, but I just like enjoy accounting.
That's great. I love that. Stop auditing me. I prefer advisory or consulting. No audits. Uh, Amazing. Well, first of all, I have a lot of questions. If I'm listening or watching right now, I'm thinking, oh, I need to watch where Edwine goes next because those are two pretty amazing stories, and they obviously had the good luck charm with you. But maybe I'll take it back a little bit to Haiti, right? And it's interesting. We had a great episode. It was the third episode of Accounting Intelligence called "The Power of People," and it was with Larry Quinlan, who's the CIO, or he was the CIO of Deloitte, and he was from St. Kitts.
Oh,
And
beautiful
he
island.
what's that?
That's a beautiful island in the
It's
Caribbean.
a it's a beautiful island, and I
Mhm.
haven't been to Haiti, but I hear it's beautiful as well. And he describes his time coming from the island all the way to the big buildings of New York or wherever he's in. I mean, do you think about you know growing up in Haiti and the difference between living in New York or Boston or wherever you are, and wow, this is so much different, or maybe there's a lot of similarities. Do you reflect back on that?
I do a lot, and especially because I have two young daughters now, and I try to assimilate or compare my experience compared to their experience. So when I grew up in Haiti is a third world country, but I was blessed. I grew up with a lot of privilege. Like my parents, so they still alive, they were well off. So I went to a really good, like all girls Catholic school. My friends, we were all in like a good network. But at the same time, it's like even if I was growing up with that much privilege, I could see like people suffering or people not having the same blessing or luck that I had. And growing up, I was able to enjoy all of this. Like when I was in Haiti, it was a community. Like everyone is friends. Like we know everyone. We go everywhere. It feels like home. We go to the beach
You
every
speak
weekend.
French?
I speak French. I
Do
speak French.
do in your community, do you speak French in
Yes.
Haiti
In
growing
Haiti,
up?
we mostly speak Creole.
Creole.
Like French is more like at school or for
Ah.
businesses or when your parents are upset at you. With my friends, like we mostly speak Creole. So my life in Haiti was great compared to what people would see or would think. I had the best life in Haiti. And I'm sad that my daughters will not experience that lifestyle. And I'm sad that I'm not able to go back and give them that view or that exposure. But I had a great life in Haiti, and it was a life of community. It was a life of like enjoyment. It was a life of appreciation. And it was a life of like, like everybody looks like you, and you can achieve, you can be great at whatever you're doing, which is probably not the case here in the US, because in the US, I feel like more like I'm a minority, But coming from Haiti, like that gave me the confidence to know that I can do anything and I can achieve anything. And because of the way I was raised, like I don't take things for granted. I'm more appreciative of the blessings, and I'm also like more um aware of how I can help and support other people.
That's amazing. I think it's a lost. I don't want to call it an art, but it's something that I think deep down we all strive for. Is to feel a sense of purpose and mission, and also to feel like we have a backbone, like
Mhm.
a place we come from, a place that makes us unique, a place that makes us special. Because when you work in accounting or audit, sometimes it's debits, credits, debits, credits, debits,
Yeah,
credit, quarter, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And when you have that backbone, you realize, this work is just a part. This is one small part of me, but I
yeah,
am who I am from my background. And it's also interesting, um, when you talk about your daughters. I mean, some people would say, "Oh, well," you mentioned Haiti's a third world country. They would say, "Oh, well, the dream is to come to America or Europe or whatever it is." Well, now, you're saying, "Well, I would like my daughters to experience what I experience because it's something about building your soul or your
Mhm.
foundation or something like that." Is that fair to say?
Yeah. That's fair to say because I had a great life, and my daughters will not experience that life.
They'll
And
have a great
if,
life too, but a different
well,
life,
they'll have a different life, but in Haiti, just being able to communicate with other people, seeing the earth, seeing nature, having that trust,
Mm.
and feeling that you like I know now they feel like home is home for them.
Which is Boston or
Which
Northeast?
is Boston. Like they feel like Boston
Yeah.
is home. But it's a different feeling, like knowing that you have access to food that you like, people that you're aware of, like you own. So I don't like I know for them it's they like home is here. But for me, like the sense of being home will always be like in Haiti, like having like my friends over, like drinking the food that my grandmother used to make or
Ooh,
going.
that sounds good. Is it what, Creole food? What would you
Yeah,
call it? Haitian?
yeah, some good Haitian food
Oh,
in the
amazing.
morning, like listening to the rooster in the morning, waking you up, the smell of coffee, like the music, and just like having a really good life. Like, because life is really slow. It's not like as fast, like go, 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 work, work, work.
Yeah,
So people take the time to really, really live and enjoy life.
it's so funny. I was in the Caribbean once. It's not
Mhm.
Haiti. It's a different place. But the motto of the island was "Go slow." And
Yes.
I come from America. Even Texas, we're a little slower. We're southern. But I was speed walking, and the guy's just like, "Stop!
Yeah.
You need to go slow." Wow, we
Yeah.
don't feel that when we're in Boston or New York. But it is nice to like reflect on your journey, and I'm happy that people are hearing a little bit of your story, because let's hope that the next generation has a lot of
Mhm.
stories. Being in two completely different environments makes us stronger because you have one perspective learns from the other, and vice versa. The way that you talk about it, and Larry talked about this a little bit. He felt like accounting was a path to a career, or maybe from the place. Do you feel like accounting is still that type of profession where anyone from around the world, from whether it's Haiti or Vietnam or anywhere, can potentially get a career they dream of through accounting? Or has it changed over the years?
No, I do think like accounting is like the common language of business. So no matter where you come from, this is a language you can learn, and this is a language you can excel at. Like for me, I think accounting is extremely intertwined with my immigration story. Because coming from Haiti, I didn't envision myself as an accountant, but accounting like helped me like moved from Canada to Grand Cayman, from Grand Cayman to the US. And I'm sure like if I intend on going somewhere else, the fact that I have a CPA or have that accounting background, it's going to make it easier for me to find opportunities for professional career or working where else. So I do feel like a lot of people they've used accounting to immigrate. Like I do have a lot of friends. Like when I was in Canada, some of my friends came from Jamaica and they moved to Canada to Toronto to work for Ernst& Young. They came down
Yeah.
with their CPAs from Jamaica and work for Ernst& Young there. I do have friends coming from China, from Vietnam, and they all like, even though they grew up in these countries, they're successful accountants in the US. And they've been able to bridge the gap and have successful careers like using accounting. So whenever I talk to students, like I'm part of NABA, which is the National Association of Black Accountants, and we build in the chapter in Boston. So I talk with all of these students at different universities, and some of them come from Africa, Caribbean, like or different countries, or even the US. And I'm telling them with accounting, there are so many opportunities, and they just have to embrace them. And with these opportunities, they can go wherever they want, or they can go as far as they want.
That's amazing. So a couple shout outs you mentioned just for anyone listening. So you just mentioned NABA, we're vice president, National Association of Black Accountants, Boston chapter. And then earlier you said balance sheet. Is that your newsletter?
Yeah, so I have a
I subscribe.
Oh,
So,
thank you. So
yeah,
that's my passion project. I just talk about life, like at the intersection of accounting. Like I said, I like to see life through the lens of an accountant. So, and I like to teach people about like regular accounting concept. And I feel like through my stories, I'm able to do that.
amazing. Okay. So balance sheet, you got to sign up if you want to hear more stories.
Yeah.
Okay. Edwin, we've got some more to talk about with the AI and stuff, but I'm still into your unique prism into accounting. What was it about maybe growing up or your journey that makes you unique as an accountant? Like I'm thinking, if I'm sitting there, like there's a lot of people that say, oh, well, accountants are black and white, they're trained to know the rules and apply the rules. Even sometimes the personalities might be very similar if you're from the outside. Obviously, I'm on the inside. There's a lot of good flavors. But like, what about your unique personality did you bring to the accounting world? And maybe like, what type of accountant are you? What are your special powers and ninja powers based on your unique journey?
That's such a great question. So thank you for asking that. And I never really thought about it like that. But I want to say that I see accounting as like a financial story. Like
Ooh, I like that.
I wanted to be like a novelist, like I told you. And I get to tell these stories through the balance sheet, like my newsletter. But I've started to see accounting as like histories or like telling like
Mm.
a woman's or financial woman's novel, which is what we're doing as accountants. Like we are telling the stories of the company we're working for. Like for me, when I was working at Circle, I was telling like Circle's story when I was doing the financial statement every month to the audits. And that story was like a story of how much money we made, how much money we invested. That's to the P&L, and what we have, that's to the balance sheet. So accountants are like financial historians. They're like storytellers. And they have that language that is guiding investors, that is guiding like the market, that is guiding like the IRS, that is guiding everything. And they own that language. So for me, I feel like the fact that like I like to see myself as a writer, even though that like I'm writing financial history out to my debits and credits, and also to my life story. Like I know that I'm adaptable, I'm resilient, and that's makes me more attracted to work for startups. Like I like working for startups because I always feel like I can come and be impactful. I can
That's
come
on.
create from scratch and help them narrate their stories. Like I'm always like, okay, how do you want to tell that story? Like my first question to founders or my CFO is like, how do you want to tell that story? And that's what guides me is like creating the first chart of accounts, like mapping the transactions and using the guide that you have, like see like ASC 66. It's not like stepping stones of the guide of how can we tell that story?
That's amazing. So, and as we know, at Trullion, like now that I'm a founder, I can vouch for how important not just good finances, but accounting. I really appreciate it, and I can really vouch for storytelling,
Mhm.
right? By the way, Edwin, between you and me, we've got history and romance covered because I was a history major. You know,
Oh, really?
I love history.
No, that's
In
true.
fact, one of history of accounting. I'm from Texas, and I remember when I was a kid, I read the newspaper about Enron,
Me
and
too. Me too. I
yeah, and I
did it. That was
remember
my
that.
first year of university. And that was like, oh my God. That's when I was like into control, stocks, and everything.
Yeah, so that's a little history. And then before I started Trullion, one of our investors and I were both reading the same, following the same news story about Wirecard, which was in Germany.
Mhm.
And that was a major fraud, kind of like a payment, PayPal of Germany. And now there's a book about it called Mad Men.
Okay.
Um, and there's a Netflix
Serious.
thriller
Really?
about an accounting Netflix thriller, Mad Men. I think I forgot the author. Maybe it's Dan Taylor with Financial Times.
Okay.
But anyway, those are some fun ones. So we've got the history covered and the romantic novels covered. We'll come back to that, but I want to just emphasize what you said because I remember when I was working, before Trullion, I was working on finance teams. And there was always like a guy or a gal or two called strategic finance. Okay. You see, there's tons I'm sure in Ramp and Circle, you have a
Yeah.
strategic. And and I was thought like, why can't you have strategic accounting? Right?
Mhm.
Why can't you have strategic in front of accounting? Why is it always strategic finance? And so it's interesting that you talk about storytelling because I think that accountants are either discouraged or maybe by nature not much of a storyteller. They think the book is already written and they just need to choose the adventure or something like that. But you talk about it as a story, and I think that that energy can really breathe a lot into the profession because it is the language of business, right? It is a cool idea to quantify an intangible asset. It's cool. How much is Apple's brand worth? How much is a lease worth?
Mhm.
Like RevRec, RevRec, it's crazy. Like 606, I know people hate it. You mentioned it a few times. I love it because, and I had to do it for a pre-IPO tech company. But I thought it was interesting that they made us do standalone selling price,
Mhm.
right? That's interesting. You have to unbundle everything. You have to determine what the pricing value is for everything. So, to all those strategic finance guys out there, we need a whole strategic accounting, army for
I
the next
feel like
generation. Yeah.
this is something that is really annoying to me. I feel like finance has overtaken the reins of, I don't know, of accounting and finance. And somehow people are giving the supremacy to finance over accounting.
Yeah.
But what people seems to forget is without accounting, there wouldn't be finance sometimes. And if you don't have good foundational accounting or good strategic accounting, you cannot have strategic finance.
Right. Well, I go back to, first of all, the accountants are the ones who are getting a CPA and doing a
Yeah.
CPE credit. So let's be real. I mean, there's a value in specialization and ongoing training versus, oh, I worked at a investment firm or, oh, I like Excel, like that strategic finance or whatever it is. But I will say that accountants can get held back at times by gap and by just controls, audits, all that stuff, and they have to do that first, right? And so I we'll talk about this on another episode, but like I always think that the software stack is built wrong. Accounting should actually be done first, and then that data should feed the finance. Instead, it splits, right? Accounting goes off of their process, which is backwards looking ERP based, and finance gets to come in and
Forward
use the
looking.
HR data, yeah,
Mhm.
and use the CRM data a lot easier because they don't have consequences if it's wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that will be the next step is to automate more in accounting so that the accountant can be the strategic accountant. You know, so anyway, very nice. Okay, your startup CPA, is that yours?
Yeah, so your startup CPA is my little venture I created.
Ooh,
It's not my 24/7 professional career. It's
side
a,
job, side
yeah,
hustle.
it's more like my side also because I realize a lot of people needed help and support.
Okay,
It's either founders wanting to understand what accounting is, when they should start thinking about building a team, the difference between a controller, an accounting manager, a bookkeeper. So
okay,
I've been advising a lot of founders in the past couple of years, telling them, okay, this is why accounting is important. This is why you should have QuickBooks. This is when you should move out of QuickBooks. This is what rule you should be hiring. Maybe you should hire like a more someone with technical expertise rather than someone with operational expertise. So with your startup CPA, I want to coach advise, which I've been doing before. At the same time as well, I've worked with a lot of founders like you, building for accountants and finance professionals. So these people are engineers, the product managers. They've never closed the books though. They don't know
right.
debit credit. So I've been advising them, coaching them, and going to the different accounting processes with them so they can build better for accountants and they can
That's
build better
amazing.
like me. And then third, my third like audience is like people like going to startups world, like accountants, accounting managers, controllers. This is their first startup jobs. They're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They don't know what tools and processes to use. So I'm available to offer them like services, coaching, and just have them think holistically about how to build like a good strategic accounting function.
Amazing. Okay, good. So it's your startup CPA.
Yes,
And if you're thinking of joining a startup or you're a founder like me and needs help, you got your startup CPA. That's
exactly.
amazing.
And that's a funny story. There's a funny story there, and I want to
Let's
tell
hear
it.
it.
So my brother is an IP lawyer,
Okay.
and then he wanted to give a gift to me, and he trademarked your startup CPA for. He was like, since you like working for startup in your CPA, I'm going to give you the gift of a trademark or your startup CPA. So I had no choice.
That's a great gift.
So I had no choice than to be like, okay, so I guess like I have the trademark and the name. Maybe I can have a website and just like formalize it, you know?
That's a really nice gift. I think we got to watch out for you and your brother. We could create a whole, services firm one day,
Exactly.
one-stop shop
Mm-hmm.
for legal and accounting. That's awesome. So you mentioned, okay, so on one hand, you help founders understand what accounting means. Listen, Edwin, we know debits and credits. We just don't know which column to put it in. Okay, so we need a little bit of help there. And by the way, it is a whole nother story of how funny it is to talk about accounting with a founder because you're like, uh, ARR, like you don't even think about burn
Yeah.
until some point, right? And burn's not even an accounting metric,
No,
right?
it's not.
But yeah, we eventually, you get to a certain point where
Exactly.
606 really,
Yeah, I
really
just talked to
matters.
them like they like bookings and revenue. I'm like, listen, booking is not revenue. So it's all
It's
like interesting talk. It's
Booking is not revenue. That's the
yes.
t-shirt. You'll
Yep.
you'll the way it'll work is you'll wear that at the founders, whatever it is, and they'll deny you. They'll ignore you because they say that's not good for my business. It's not good for my fundraising. Booking's not even revenue. And then they are about to raise, Series B, maybe Series C, and you get a call. Hey, you were wearing that shirt? Can you explain the difference between that's just how the startups work.
Yep.
We
Yep. They don't
we
know.
yeah, we follow the latest. But listen, I'm in RevRec mode, at Trullion where Series B plus, we're working with all the top, audit firms and controllers. And so there's no choice. So we're getting there. Okay, but that's one aspect of your startup CPA. The other one that was interesting is you talked about coaching and helping
Mhm.
accountants who are coming to their first startup.
Yes.
What's okay, two-part question. What's the number one hardest thing that you see, like the number one complaint or the top complaint that you hear? That's number one. And
Mhm.
then number two, maybe it's the same, maybe it's different. What advice do you find yourself always giving these, accountants in a startup? So first, what's the biggest, challenge you see? And then second, what's the common advice you always give them?
So the biggest challenge is like, and that's been recent. These accountants don't feel appreciated. Most of them, they usually come from Big Four, or they usually come from some audit firms, and this is their first startup job. So they have no idea what they're doing, and they just think like, "Oh, I need to only like issue financial statement, close the books." And I have to remind them this is just like a portion of the job. Like the biggest job is to build processes, is to build controls, is to build teams, operational accounting. And if you don't build your operations, like when I say operations, like all the processes, like paying the bills, paying people, equity compensation, like payroll, like how does your payroll process work? Like how do you work with different partners, different teams? How do you teach them controls? How do you document these processes? Like if you don't do this investment early, you're not going to be able to have good financial reporting. So that's something like I feel like a lot of accountants they forget, especially when they're working at startups. They don't know that they have to be the one building and finding solutions. They just think my job is just to like do debit credit, journal entries, do like the P&L, the balance sheet, and that's it. No. The job is way more than that. The job is just like understanding what the company needs and creating like the framework for the company to operate financially. Let's say like there is a need for a new product. So now you have to be thinking about like, okay, what accounting guidance to use? Are we going to invoice people? Are we going to collect? And apart from that, like what bank account we're going to use? If it's something, if it's SaaS, like do we need to have like a sales tax registration? Who's going to do that? What integration do you need to like, I don't know, something like a Valara or Earmark? What type of reports do you need? So I feel like accountants, they just see the financial reporting side or the audit side sometimes. And they forget at the startup, it's way more than that. It's not only technical accounting, it's also operational accounting, it's also compliance. And it's mostly a lot of the time building relationship across the board and building these processes and documenting that from the get-go. So that's the first thing that I feel like they don't know. And the second question, like I'm trying to remember what was it again? The second part.
Yeah, just well, that's what they don't know. And then maybe advice that you find yourself giving a
Yes.
lot. Maybe it's the same thing.
Yeah. So my advice is just like build relationship. Start from the first step. Start from day zero. Like understand the processes. And if there are no processes, build them. Like build allies,
Amazing.
like be like an advocate for accounting. Like funny enough, I feel like accountants they tend to be introverted. They like to be behind the scene. They don't like to like create problems, but they see everything. Like we know how much everyone get paid. We know how much every vendors get paid. We know like everything. So with that knowledge, they should be more powerful. And that power comes from like creating partnership. It comes from like helping people solve their problems and being more like forward looking and helping the company make better decisions. Like one example is like if you notice there's like you paying the bills, you notice they're paying for the same type of solutions. Like you notice the company is paying for Microsoft Azure and AWS. Maybe you could be going back to your IT infrastructure team and tell them why you're paying for both. Like, is there a way to minimize these expenses? Like, if you notice there's a new product coming out, like think about collection, think about billing, think about like sales tax. If the company is thinking about like having a new piece of software, like R&D, like how can the engineering team be structured like optimally to increase like R&D tax credit or like
Ooh,
so
that's
many
a good one. Yeah, you could do R&D. You can do R&D cap better if you, and then you're forced to learn, what what are you guys doing on this product,
Exactly. So that's why I feel like accountants, they're ignoring the power that they have because they have access to so much knowledge. They don't know where to start sometimes, and they've never been coached for that. And that I'm not going to say like they're not doing it. It's just like you don't know. When you were in the Big Four, they never told you how to do operations. I came
Right.
for not even knowing how to do a journal entry. I didn't know how to set up a payroll process or to set up an international entity. I had to learn. So accountants should open their mind and just take like a deep dive and get it done. Like all of these
That's
problems,
amazing.
but they have to learn and just do it.
I love it. I love it. Mike, you use a word I like, which is a window. It's like a window into the business. Um,
Yes.
two things, like you said, it's a language of the business. So basically you own the most, it's literally called GAAP,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
generally accepted accounting principles. Like there is an actual language that you learn. And then second, it's a window. Um, I want to talk a little bit about AI next, and I know it's a can of worms and a moving target. But before I do, like reflecting on AI, um, I've thought more and more lately that AI has a very unique place in the accounting industry.
Mhm.
And the reason is, I know we're all talking about it, and I'm sure it's been said before, but when you think about like the AI and engineering, engineers are using coding helpers for AI, but that's like so specific to just coding, you
Mhm.
know? And marketing teams are using AI for their materials and their content, but that's so specific. If even legal is using AI, but that's for their contracts,
Exactly.
or whatever it is. Accounting, Edwin, like if I'm the if I'm the CEO and you're my controller, VP, whatever, legal only touches contracts, marketing touches their stuff, engineering, you can touch anything.
Thing.
I blindly trust the accountant, the CFO, the controller to have access to all the data. That's the trust that's been built over the years, and I think people forget that. So if you do adopt automation and AI as an accountant, there's more likelihood to strengthen the
Mhm.
position as an operational person. That's different than marketing and engineering and legal and sales and stuff like that. So at the same time, it's probably one of the slower areas to adopt AI for various reasons. But I always think about that a lot. Like I was thinking a lot about internal audit the past few months because we at Trullion, we have this external audit automation, and it can do like really good matching and financial statement reviews and stuff. And there's really good values for the corporations. But there's nobody who's assigned with that task. The big four and the audit firms, they use our tools, but they do sampling. So they're
Mm.
sampling. And if they sample, they're just doing a checklist. It's not necessarily showing you value or unique insights. But because of AI, you can take all of the ledger data and all of like invoices and find shadow payments or
Yeah.
maverick payments or just, and so I think a lot about internal audit because I'm just sitting there saying like screaming like who's going to take these superpowers across the organization and deploy them? And it's accounting and it's internal audit and they have access to all the data. So I've been thinking a lot about that. What is your latest position or vision on AI and kind of the opportunity for the controllership?
Well, I think it's a good question because I feel like accountants tends to be extremely conservative in the tools and the methodology that they're using to do their work. And I think like one of the gap, what do you call that? Quality, like whatever they call it, is consistency. Because you want to see every period the same, like period over period. So we tend to be conservative because we apply the rules of consistency to everything. But with AI, this is an opportunity for accountants to be even better. And when you're talking about AI, like it's allowing you to do rules, create rules, and make sure these rules are followed consistently. Like even like when you're doing categorizations of expenses or categorization of transactions. So AI gives you the ability to apply your rules consistently, like without any manual intervention. That's one. The second thing too with AI, you can do a lot of analysis. One thing that accountants, I feel like we're not really good at is analytics and of like being able to read trends, being able to like figure out outliers, just to look into the data. I feel like this is something that we were not taught in school. Maybe now they're teaching that to the kids, but having so much data and being able to come to it and find outliers and find trend and advise the executive team, advise the business, that's a tool, like that's a superpower that accountants need to develop. And the last thing I like with AI is the ability to also like create and innovate.
We
I think,
love that, Edwin. You're the creator, the innovator, the storyteller,
yeah,
extraordinaire,
yeah,
extraordinaire.
yeah, because with accounting, like we can do scenario analysis. With AI and accounting,
Mm-hmm.
you can look at complex accounting issues like equity is a complex accounting, IP cap complex accounting, leases complex accounting, and usually these complex accountings like they write like I don't know like PwC, the like they have this big manual about that. You
Yeah,
don't need to read to them. Like once you can use AI to create templates, you can use AI to like go to it, create tables, and have all of your transaction like completed in that template. So I like AI and I've been using it a lot. Like I use it in my newsletter, like some of my newsletter, like I use it to edit. Like English is not my first
right.
language. So
Do you write? How much do you write versus how much do you edit? You don't have to share if it's a
I
secret.
write a lot. So I will do the first draft.
Yeah,
And usually I use GPT to help me with like editing it, the grammar. But and then I add another edit of myself on top of it. But you can use like AI to write your whole accounting poll. You can use AI to do your memos, like 606, like put the 606 guidance, put your contracts, and you can get full 606 memos, like deferred revenue, like waterfalls, and all of this. Like there's so much work that accountants used to do, and I would call that silly work that we don't have to do anymore. AI can do the work for you.
that's
And and
awesome.
and that's giving accountants the opportunity to level up. Like rather than just being in the data, you can just like use AI and then do the what's next, like what if, what more. And I think that's the skills that the new generation of accountants, that's something you'll have to learn and be good at.
Yeah,
One thing
amazing.
I want to add, like something that's extremely important for me is reporting.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a company is growing, the needs for reporting grows as well. And I feel like with AI, like reporting is so much easier, it's so much efficient, it's so much better if you use AI. Like for me, I believe like reporting should be fully automated. And accountants, the only thing we should be looking at is like exceptional report. Like you have reports, you have reconciliation, all of this can be automated. So the only thing like a human or accountant should be looking at is exceptional report. And at some point, maybe I can get to the exceptional report level and everything can be like fully automated and all we do is just be in the judgment and the mindset and working with this AI agent to figure out accounts.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny because I remember when we met, it was at a Boston dinner and we were
Yeah.
talking about AI. It was probably a year and a half ago, maybe more. And this was a period where I was talking a lot about
Mhm,
AI, but I
mhm.
felt like one of those comedians that like told a bad joke or maybe was trying out new material and nobody was laughing. Um, and I sat next to you in the dinner and we talked and you understood it. And it's interesting because you worked at Circle and Ramp, which are these high growth, very successful companies. And it seems like there's some sort of correlation between being tech forward and innovative and being connected to these high growth companies. Maybe on one hand, you contribute the innovation, and on the other hand, the innovation of the company helps
It's
inspire
kind of
you.
forced, like the innovation, like you're kind of forced to do it because you have no choice. And the good thing, like, and I'm just going to use rap example, I had access to team of engineers and product managers like at my disposition.
Oh, wow.
So that was a blessing because I feel like a lot of people is working at the companies, they don't have that access. So that kind of forced me to think about it. And the funny thing at Rep, so whenever I would request a head count, let's say I need a new senior accountant. The question is, what is this accountant going to do? And is it something that can be automated or is it something that AI can do? So I had to
Wow.
think about it before having my head count requisition being approved.
That's amazing. And that's a forward thinking company
Mhm.
right there. Well, I got to say, it has been so great talking with you today. I feel like the romance novel of your career is only in the first few chapters, right? Maybe the third or the fourth chapter, and there's many more to come. So just before we sign off, any parting words or last thoughts you wanted to share?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me. I think,
Thank you.
like you said, like I would not say this is like my woman's novel. I think it's more woman's novel. I've used accounting to go on my career, travel, and establish myself as a professional, as an executive. And I feel like people would be foolish to ignore the power of accounting and to forget that accounting is like the language of business. And my hope is with AI, accountants can be more strategic. They can be seen as builders. They can be seen as forward thinking. And this is something that I want to encourage. And this is something I'm working for. And I'm working with that, like to like your startup CPA. I'm working to that to my work with NABA, helping them build a pipeline and getting more people, more young people interested into accounting. So I really like I want to say thank you for your podcast because your podcast is giving like people like different views of accounting as well. And what
Amazing.
so thank you for that as well.
Well, thank you. And we loved having you. And we've got a great following here, a lot of downloads. Don't forget to get your CPE credit if you've been following along. You could find Edwin online on LinkedIn. You could subscribe to the balance sheet. You could see her at, involved in NABA. And of course, your startup CPA and whatever's next. So we're going to keep an eye out. Edwin, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Anza. Thank you.